You're listening to the Telltale Channel. In this podcast, Nick Fuentes was just arrested. Mugshot and everything. For those who don't remember, a woman went up to his door and rang the doorbell. He opened the door and unloaded a bottle of pepper spray on her without warning. Turns out that's illegal. The CEO of a health insurance company was shot and killed in Manhattan, and Fox News just can't figure out why anybody would be in favor of it. Personally, I don't wish death on anybody, but I'm not going to cry when I read the obituary. Let's talk about Fox News' reaction to this. It is predictably psychotic. Fox News host Jesse Waters laid down a 3-minute screed of non-stop propaganda about how Joe Biden is a Bond villain. It was impressive. This guy's about as low as they come, and I say that after covering Alex Jones. Christian nationalist Stephen Wolfe has some things to say about the Jews. Buckle up for this one. People on the right fall into two categories. Either they love Israel because they think it needs to exist so Jesus can take out all the Jews from orbit when Armageddon starts, or they think it's our job to do it on Jesus' behalf. It seems like Stephen Wolfe is from group number 2. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. A dude named Joel Webbin. I've talked about him a bunch before. He's like a far-right Christian nationalist, like anti-Semitic nutcase, like out of his head. Oh my God, he's crazy. Well, he's got a buddy named Stephen Wolfe. And Stephen Wolfe on the left here, he wrote a book, I think, titled The Case for Christian Nationalism or something. I want to listen to what Stephen Wolfe here has had to say, because he said some absolutely psychotic stuff. And I want to listen to a conversation that he had with Joel Webbin about Jews and everything. It is out of this world. Check this out. This clip is from early December 2024.
You are perfectly free in terms of the law to say anything you want in terms of race. But if you say something with race that angers all of society, you lose your job. You never get a job again. You're done. You're through. Your kids will be tarnished. Everything.
Okay, well, let's just kind of frame this up so we understand the example he's giving us. You say something about race, you're free to say that. So if you say that black people are genetically inferior to white people, you can say that without going to jail, but you will possibly lose your job. Okay, yeah, I suppose so. I can say that. You go in and you say the N-word, then yeah, you might lose your job. Go on.
So there's a social power that suppresses that thing, and Christians are very willing to join in when someone says something racist to exact the social costs involved with that.
Mm-hmm. So somebody says the N-word, Christians fight against it. All right, I'm with you so far.
They're very willing to participate in that power. What I'm saying is, why not do that to the atheist? Why not do that to someone who is trying to publicly tarnish the name of Christ? Why not do that to someone who is practicing gross impieties?
Why don't we view somebody who doesn't believe the same way as me as people that say the N-word? They're basically the same. Are you kidding me right now? Bro, what is wrong with you? Atheists are not damaging society. Going around using vile language to denigrate and hurt minority groups for the sake of doing it, they are hurting society. I'm not trying to denigrate or hurt anybody for the sake of it. I'm telling you, I don't agree with you. And you are saying, you're basically telling me, you're basically saying the N-word to me right now. Because you're saying you don't believe the same way that I do. You're basically saying the N-word. That's the Christian version of the N-word. I don't believe. That's what he's saying, right?
Why not do that as well? But why not use that power that we already use in society to suppress those things that would be bad? And the end of it would be to normalize Christianity in society such that it is something that people readily accept and through that can be encouraged to have true faith.
Okay, I'm not sure I fully understand. Was he saying that he wants to make it so that people are only Christian?
Such that it is something that people readily accept and
so he wants to modify society so that Christianity is just accepted by everybody
in society to suppress those things that would be bad. And the end of it would be to normalize.
You're right. So what he's saying, he wants to make it impossible for atheists to get jobs or to function in society. They can't rent a house because they're not Christian. I mean, like I said, he wrote a book called, I think, The Case for Christian Nationalism. If you think I'm going too far, I'm not. That is what he actually believes. And I hope I'll prove that to you tonight. Okay, here's another clip from Stephen Wolfe. Just listen to what he has to say here. This one is from late October 2024.
The perfect political covenant would be one that explicitly acknowledges the lordship of Christ,
Yes.
right? So in a way, any nation can have a legitimate covenant and it order itself according to it, but in order for it to be actually complete and perfected and proper, it would explicitly acknowledge the lordship of Christ.
Yes.
So a country is only valid if it is a Christian nation, then. Is that what he's saying?
And I've said like that. I always say it was a complete mistake that the founders didn't do that. There were objections before it was ratified that they said that yes, it should have, it should acknowledge Christ, and they just didn't want to go back and go through the struggle to produce a new one.
Yeah.
Really? You're trying to tell me you believe that the founding fathers were Christian nationalists, but they forgot to add that bit about this being a Christian nation. Shucks. So they just, people understand. We don't need to add it. No big deal. Everybody knows. That's ridiculous. Are you kidding me? John Adams was a Christian nationalist nutcase, and he was involved in some of the founding stuff. There were multiple drafts of the Constitution, and he kept trying to add in Jesus. And Thomas Jefferson kept saying basically, no. Like, I put this in here for a reason. Stop trying to add Jesus to this. It is intentionally, specifically, a secular nation. And they kept having to scrap it because the dude kept putting stuff in there about it. So that is one way to interpret that event, I suppose. Anyway, like I said, friends with Joel Webbin. I want to tie Joel Webbin into this because they do an event with each other in a minute. And I want to show you some of the things that they both had to say. Let me just start with Joel Webbin and his, I think this is like the anti-Jew rant that he lays down. It's crazy.
Anybody to hold public office would have to make a Christian profession of faith.
Right.
A Christian profession of faith. So
And not just a 15-minute profession of faith.
Right. And they
profession over time. And
they
membership.
would have to have a track record of it. That's right.
He's a Christian nationalist, openly self-avowed, and it's describing his perfect government. That is psychotic.
No practicing Jew who hasn't converted to Christianity would be able to serve in public office.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, at least he said who hasn't converted to Christianity, because that was really the main difference, I guess, between Joel Webbin and the Nazi government. The Nazi government said even if you had converted, you couldn't be a part of it. So there's that. He's had a lot of stuff to say about, like, Jews for some weird reason, dude. I don't know what his obsession is. Like, I am opposed to what Israel is doing right now and horrified, disgusted by their treatment of Palestine. I am pro-Palestine to the core. But there's a difference between being opposed to Israel's foreign policy and what they're doing right now and being opposed to Jews. Like, that's psychotic, what Joel Webbin lays down. Just listen to this one. This is from early December 2024.
If you are a citizen of Israel and you refuse to convert to Christianity, you're a Jewish citizen, Israeli citizen. I do wish for you not to serve in public office in my nation.
Right.
So no Jews allowed in positions of authority in the country.
Mm-hmm. You can come here if you're going to play nice, like any other immigrant, and contribute. But
you're an immigrant if you're not a Christian nationalist.
But no, you do not get to pull levers of power in my nation's government.
Jesus Christ, dude. Yeah, this guy has a complicated belief system that basically involves removing citizenship from anybody that is not a Christian nationalist, disallowing anybody from being involved in government who is not a Christian nationalist, rewriting the Constitution. He actually has a Christian nationalist constitution. I forget what it's called now, but it's okay, I talked about it a while back. This is it. Again, I covered this on my main channel, I believe. The Statement on Christian Nationalism and the Gospel. Authors, James Silberman, Dusty Devers, who is a Oklahoma state senator, and William Wolfe, the guy we're talking about, Joel Webbin, the other guy we're talking about, Jeff Wright, and Corey Anderson. I don't know those two. I mean, they want to replace the Constitution with this. We affirm that the Bible is God's word, breathed out by him as the only sufficient, certain, inerrant, infallible, necessary, and final authority for all saving knowledge, faith, what we must believe, and obedience, how we must live. We affirm that the light of nature and man and God's work in creation and providence reveal God's power in nature. Anyway, you get the idea. They want to replace the Constitution with this. That is nuts. All right, so let's talk about William Wolfe and Joel Webbin and their weird hatred of Jews. Like, I don't know why they target them so much. It's just odd now. This is Joel Webbin about to speak, and in a second, this in the middle, if you're watching, with the blue jacket on, second from the right, he's that one would be William Wolfe.
And so what I want to do is I want to say, first, the Christian church is God's chosen people. And everything that's not replacement theology, that's a pejorative. This is fulfillment theology. It was always God's plan.
Christian church is God's people. I don't understand. What's replacement theology? Am I missing something? Suppressionism, also called replacement theology and fulfillment theology by its proponents, is the Christian doctrine that the Christian church has superseded the Jewish people, assuming their role as God's people. Right. Okay, yes. This is also Nazi ideology. The Nazis, look, I wrote a whole book about it. Was Hitler an atheist? I talk about the church and Hitler's involvement in it and everything. Amazon and Audible, if you want to find it there. OwenMorgan.com also. Anyway, they created a whole theology. The Nazis did, a Christian theology that they all adhered to. It's called positive Christianity. They call themselves the German Christians. They want to call themselves the Christian nationalists or the Protestant nationalists to exclude Catholics. But Hitler vetoed it and settled on the German Christians. Anyway, they believed that Jews had been abandoned by God after Jesus' death and that Jesus was the linchpin of religion now. And everybody that believes in Jesus and Christianity is now saved by God. Except Jews in the Nazi belief system. Jews could not convert because they had forsaken God, basically. Because they walked away from him when, Jesus died on the stake or whatever. God, the stake. Listen to me, ex-Jehovah's Witness over here. When Jesus died on the cross, it was a cross, actually. It was not a stake. Anyway, that was Nazi theology. It sounds like what he's describing here is just Nazi theology, right? And look, it's fair to argue doctrine. It's fair to say, I think that this thing is correct or that thing is correct. But when just about every theological belief that you have exactly lines up with Nazi Christian ideology, that's kind of weird, right? Is it just me?
And so what I want to do is I want to say, first, the Christian church is God's chosen people. And everything that's not replacement theology, that's a pejorative. This is fulfillment theology. It was always God's plan.
Fascinating.
And Israel, according to the flesh, was warmly invited in upon Christ's finishing of that plan. And I am of the persuasion that a lot of them said yes and actually did come in.
So what is he saying that God told the Jews of the time that they could convert to Christianity, and Joel Webbin believes that many of them did? Here's another thing. The Bible says pretty explicitly that anybody who comes to Jesus will be saved. Anybody. It doesn't say anybody except black people or Egyptians or Jews or whatever. It says anybody. And that was a really inconvenient verse for the German Christians. That was Romans chapter 10. I think verse 2, maybe. Somewhere in that vicinity. It was inconvenient for them. So the German Christians basically just disregarded everything that Paul wrote. And Paul wrote, like, the book of Romans. So that whole thing is out now. They just went with what Jesus wrote, or what Jesus said. In the end, the German Christians had to change very little to adapt the Bible to their belief system. Almost nothing. They just focused more on other verses that other Christian denominations did not focus on as much, for example.
up to 80-70. I would hold that view. That said, so I want to start there. But secondly, I admit, I do want to go a little bit further, maybe getting a little bit greedy here. But I would also like to say not only is the church God's chosen people, but Israel, not being God's chosen people, are also not even adjacent to God's chosen people. In fact, if anything, Talmudic Judaism is uniquely hostile to Christian faith and to Christ.
This is actually exactly what the Nazis said. This is actually really interesting. Like I said, like the Nazi theology, it actually had some theologically interesting points to make. I'm not opposed to giving up on Paul's writings. I think that's theologically an okay decision to make, because why do I care what Paul wrote? I care what Jesus said. And when Paul contradicts Jesus, I'm going with Jesus, right? So I'm okay with discarding Paul's writings, but a lot of stuff that the Nazi theology adopted was completely baseless and real reaches from a theological perspective. They were really reaching with this stuff. And it feels like that's exactly what's happening with Webben now.
And I think that that's something to be aware of. And also quit looking at porn, have a good marriage, think about, get your own life together, all of that. So.
When he says have a good marriage, he means you're no longer allowed to get a divorce under any circumstances. His out for people who need to get divorced, there's one reason to get a divorce, and that is because they cheated on you. That's it. And in Joel Webben's mind, there's a punishment for cheaters, death penalty. So in his ideal world, under his Christian constitution, wherever the hell it went, under his Christian constitution, there would be no divorce, none. The person would be put to death if they cheated, and there's no need for divorce anymore because they're dead. That's psychotic.
If I could, yeah. So
now we're going to get Stephen Wolfe's take on it.
I mean, if we're going to talk about ourselves instead of, the Jews, I think we need to, we need to reflect on this idea of Judeo-Christianity or Judeo-Christian worldview or Judeo-Christian whatever.
That term Judeo-Christian, I believe, was kind of invented in like the 1920s to connect Christianity to basically take advantage of the goodwill that Judaism had among certain groups of people, if I remember correctly. Early 19th century, term was first used in a letter by Alexander McCall in 1821 to refer to Jewish converts to Christianity. It was also used in French to refer to early followers of Jesus who wanted to limit the message of Jesus to Jews. 1930s and 40s, the term was used in the U.S. to unite Christians and Jews against fascism and anti-Semitism. It was also used to redefine democracy in response to totalitarianism. The term was first used in print in 1939 by George Orwell in a book review. 1895, Friedrich Nietzsche used the German term Judenchristlich, or something to that effect, in his book The Antichrist to describe the continuity between Jewish and Christian worldviews. So it sounds like the term was invented to fight Nazism, kind of. Well, it was popularized for that reason, it seems like. Okay. Now, what's this guy going to say about this term that was invented to fight Nazis?
Judeo-Christianity or Judeo-Christian worldview or Judeo-Christian whatever, and really eradicate that from our thinking. Because if we say that America is a Judeo-Christian country, then it can't be a Christian country.
Okay, well, I kind of agree with him on this. We should eliminate it. But again, why is he so aligned with Nazi theology? Like, it's weird now, right? It was weird like 2 ideological ideas ago.
Okay. And when we talk about a Judeo-Christian ethic or whatever it is, we're talking, it's code for essentially a universalist. It's anyone's in here, anyone, if they just abide by these proceduralist or modern liberal rules. That's what it means. And so it's essentially saying any and all come here, nations of the world, we're the whatever. And so we have to get rid of that. And
right, because he doesn't want that, of course. He wants this to be an exclusive country, exclusively devoted to and belonging to Christian nationalists specifically, and only Christian nationalists. Wow, dude.
That, and I mean, I don't want to, I think there's a reason why it's called Judeo-Christian and it's universalist. I won't get into that, but But we need to, once we get rid of that, then we can think of, hey, let's have a Christian country. I get the question all the time, like, well, if you want a Christian nation, what are you going to do about the Jews in the country? And I'm thinking, well, they were doing quite fine when we had a Christian country. So, I mean,
Well, we didn't have a Christian country. This is not a Christian country. You know what was a Christian country, though? Germany. It was fully Christian, a Christian nationalist state. Like, it was, they were tied. Like, state and church were not separated. So who is he talking about when he says we?
They were doing quite fine when we had a Christian country.
No, they weren't. I don't know what he's talking about.
So, I mean, it's weird. It's not as if they're kicked out or expelled. It's just that this is a Christian country and you are tolerated here. And yet we would not tolerate any action that would undermine that Christian nature of the nation. So,
wow, dude.
So that's how you extend, toleration to non-Christians.
That is wild. So he's explaining that we would tolerate them being here, but we wouldn't tolerate literally anything else about them. Get help, seriously. Oh my God.
But again, this is not simply like a term we use. It's like a state of mind. It's an ideology. It's in our brain. I think it's
what is a Judeo-Christian thing?
In everyone's brain. It's in mine. It's in yours. Everyone. And when you realize that you have that, then you can kick it out. You can suppress it. You can tell your friend, hey, you're thinking wrong. Like your mind's broken. You've been socialized into something that's false.
Okay, wow, that's really interesting. I'll just leave it at that. Again, I don't think that the term Judeo-Christian is useful, and I don't think that we should use it. I don't think I fully agree with his reasoning here at all.
You see, can I ask follow?
Yeah.
Clarify that. There's a way in which the rise of the phrase Judeo-Christian was basically an attempt to supplant something like we're a Protestant nation.
It's a subversion.
Okay, now, what? I haven't heard that. What's he talking about?
Was basically an attempt to supplant something like we're a Protestant nation.
It's a subversion. Yeah,
Well, why wouldn't they just say a Christian nation instead of Protestant? What are you talking about? What does this mean? Where's he getting this? He's just like making this up on the spot?
A version of Protestant tolerance into a universalistic, non-Christian human tolerance, which is not historically what we've been in this country. Historically, it's been a very tolerant Protestant country.
Right.
But yeah, it's an utter subversion. And so when you think of Judeo-Christian, you're being subverted. So expunge, kill it, destroy it. So that's our critique of ourselves. Anyway, I'll leave that. That's my.
So get rid of Judeo-Christian as a term because we don't want to be tied to Jews anymore. Wow.
I'll just say, like, on that point, I think that's right. I think it is far better to say, because it's what kind of tree did that kind of tolerance grow on? And it was like it grew on a Protestant tree, on an Anglo-Protestant tree. And so you can't cut that root and then substitute a different root and expect to keep the fruit, which is why we don't have that fruit anymore. We don't have a tolerant.
Dude, I am so lost in the analogy now.
We have a very intolerant, oppressive country because it's no longer rooted in something fixed and stable, but that allows for the right kind of diversity or whatever you want to call it, like a pan-Protestantism. So
he's totally lost me. Okay, wow. That was confusing as hell. Anyway, the point is that these people, the Christian nationalists who literally wrote a Christian nationalist constitution, are coming out against Jews in really pointed and weird ways. I don't know. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Like, these people have problems for real. Next up, Nick Fuentes was just arrested. Mugshot and everything. For those who don't remember, a woman went up to his door and rang the doorbell. He opened the door and unloaded a bottle of pepper spray on her without warning. Turns out that's illegal. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. On screen here is a neo-Nazi. He got arrested for what I think is battery. I'm not 100% sure. We're going to take a look and read through it. If you don't know who this guy is, let me just kind of lay out the story. I talked about it recently, so I'm going to try not to repeat myself. But let me just hit like a few key points here. Fuentes, as I said, is a neo-Nazi, and he went kind of viral not too long ago after Trump won for saying, "Your body, my choice."
Feel when we control your bodies. Hey, we control your bodies. Guess what? Guys win again, okay? Men win again. And yes, we control your bodies. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. It's your body, my choice.
So he did that for like another 20 minutes or something. And people did not like that very much. So a woman, basically he gets doxxed and he starts getting like honks outside his house. I've experienced this because I reported a teacher for saying that being gay and trans is wrong, basically, in the classroom. She said that on class time, made them sit there and listen to that. Anyway, I reported her. Whole town turned against me. It was psychotic. Every 15 minutes at most, somebody would drive by and honk. At one point, it came down to like every 30 seconds or minute, people were honking their horn. It's threatening as shit because they're telling you that they know where you are and they don't like you, you know? People coming on my property and wandering around, circling my car and looking at all my windows, peeking at me through my window, you know, slashing my tires, that kind of shit. Scary, for real. Anyway, that's what happened to Nick Fuentes, basically. And a woman comes up to him and just kind of walks up to his door and rings the doorbell, and this happens.
Hi. Oh my God, what are you doing?
I think it's pepper spray.
Fuck out of here.
So he took her phone? I guess he took her phone. I don't know how that got uploaded or whatever, but he got charged with battery, I believe, because of that incident. I just want to kind of glance through this news article, see what we can surmise here. And then we're going to talk about some of Nick Fuentes' like most messed up takes. It's stuff that I haven't covered before or in a very long time, if I ever have, so... All right, this article is on Mediaite. White nationalist Nick Fuentes arrested after allegedly throwing woman downstairs and pepper spraying her. White nationalist is like surface level. He's a full-blown Hitler-loving neo-Nazi. Like, I love Hitler. That is what he said. Seriously. White nationalist and anti-Semite Nick Fuentes was arrested in Illinois last week on a charge of battery after he allegedly pushed a woman down the stairs of his home and pepper sprayed her last month. Yeah. Someone knocks on your door, I guess you can't just push them down the stairs and or pepper spray them. Like I said, I get the fear. I get the feeling that's behind this. People driving by your house at all hours and looking in your windows and get that. And I get that he would want to pepper spray the shit out of them so he doesn't have to deal with this anymore. But you can't do that. You can call the cops, tell them that she's trespassing. Hell, you want to make it even more interesting, put a dog out there in front of your, in your driveway on a leash so that it will only allow people through that are familiar with you or something, whatever. But you can't like maim somebody before they even talk to you or whatever. According to the police report from the Berwyn Police Department obtained by the Smoking Gun, Fuentes was confronted by a woman on November 10th over comments he made online about abortion access following the November election. Oh, by the way, speaking of neo-Nazis, what a way to start a sentence. I wrote a book about Hitler. Was Hitler an atheist? Check it out, owenmorgan.com. It's on Amazon and Audible, too. It's pretty interesting. Was Hitler an atheist? It talks about Hitler's dealings with the churches, Jehovah's Witnesses, Catholics, Protestants. Anyway, yeah, give it a look. In a report from November 27th, Officer Azael Carrera wrote that a woman who witnessed the incident recorded and observed a male push a female down the stairs, spray her with mace, and smash her phone. A man identified in the report as Fuentes reportedly sprayed the woman and allegedly pushed her backward, causing her to fall down the stairs and onto the concrete. The male then grabbed her phone and threw it against the concrete floor. It seemed like he dragged it in with his foot, the phone, right? Let's just watch the phone part one more time. All right, so she drops the phone, right? He picks it up, right? Didn't he pick it up? And then he shuts the door. Did he try to delete the video or something? Is that what it was? I bet he tried to delete the video. And when he realized he couldn't delete it, he just threw it out. I don't know. I have no idea. So I guess he grabbed it and threw it out afterward. Video purported to be from the incident began to circulate on social media on Friday afternoon. Yeah, that's the one we just watched. Fuentes was reportedly booked, fingerprinted, and searched on November 27th, and ultimately charged with battery and released. Wow. He's doing court in Cook County on December 19th. That's crazy, dude. Wow. He was charged with battery. I didn't actually know that that was illegal. To, like, if someone is trespassing, I thought that you had the right to protect yourself, your property, or something if you feel like you're in danger. I don't know. I don't know how any of it works. That's interesting. According to further details provided in the police report, the incident was initiated when the victim confronted Fuentes over comments he made about abortion access, implying Vice President Kamala Harris's 2024 election loss would give him and others control over women's bodies. Your body, my choice, forever. Yeah. Here's the Berwyn Police Department report. Quote, the victim then decided to go to his house and record a video of the property. While recording a video of the property, a passerby encouraged her to speak with Nicholas, so she decided to attempt to make contact with Nicholas and rang his front doorbell. While standing in front of the door, Nicholas opened the door and immediately sprayed her face with pepper spray and pushed her with both hands on her upper body, causing her to fall backward down the stairs and onto the concrete below. Nick then grabbed her phone and momentarily went inside his house before coming back out. They both then waited for police to arrive. Marla related she did not want to sign complaints at this time. Didn't want to sign complaints? I don't fully understand. Police also reported that Fuentes had relayed following the incident he was in fear for his life after he posted a political joke online. I think that argument would likely hold up in court. He says he's in fear for his life. That would probably hold up, I bet. But I don't know if that makes a difference legally. I'm just not sure. That's really interesting, though. But we got a beautiful mugshot. Wait, where the hell did I put my mugshot? I got to pull this puppy up. I'm going to set it as my background image. Here we are, yeah. There's the mugshot. It's a little grainy. Maybe I can enhance it with AI. Like, I don't revel in anybody's suffering or whatever. I don't like that. I don't want anybody to suffer or to die or whatever. But this guy is like one of the worst human beings on planet Earth. He's extremely charming and nice and interesting and funny and kind. But then he busts out the most vile that you have ever heard in your entire life. Like saying that black people are genetically inferior to white people. Or saying that, well, honestly, repeating all the same stuff that the Nazis said about Jews. Saying that they control the world and that there's a plan for domination and that they need to be put in check and all kinds of crazy, insane stuff. Here's just a couple examples of some of the stuff that he's said in the recent past. There's a time where he decided to... What's different about him here? What is this? God, I don't know what's different about him in this, but there's something very different. It's a time when he decided to do something very different with his hairstyle. Listen to this.
No need for roaming millennial in the 21st century. You've got porn and you've got men who talk about politics. What market is served, like combining the two, and they're both worse?
He's saying women should not talk about politics at all. By the way, this clip is from 2022. It's late November 2022.
Shitty political commentary and like some cleavage. Who wins? Who wins in that scenario? Maybe that made sense 25 years ago, 15 years ago. But in this day and age, we're going to hear some, some airhead broad talk, regurgitate men's talking points from 3 years ago.
Because women can't come up with their own talking points? What are you talking about?
Inadequately. Well, she's got some cleavage going on. How is that a victory? How is that? Who wins? Just watch porn, or just watch America First.
Jesus Christ, dude. This guy has problems. Also, I believe that he is an incel. In my personal opinion, I think he's likely gay, but he can't accept that about himself. So he just doesn't date at all and is like a self-affirmed incel. Just says, I am an incel, and identifies with that whole group. Although the incel community is not really happy with him at the moment because they found out that he kissed a girl in high school. Oops. So, yeah. So stupid, man. The whole thing is so stupid. I think he's gay and he just can't accept it about himself. Now, let me establish that for you, okay? A little while back, this is May 17th, 2024. He's doing his normal stream as he always does, and at the end of the stream, something very unexpected happens. For some inexplicable reason, gay adult entertainment starts playing after the stream. Like he's done with the stream and he's turn it off. He's sitting at the computer, like ending all this stuff or whatever. And oops, gay adult entertainment pops up on screen. That's weird.
And have a great rest of your evening.
Like Alex Jones got them tabs open. Yes. Didn't Alex Jones have like the trans adult entertainment tabs on his phone or something? Oh, yeah. Something like that, I would say.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
Okay, it's over. Someone's on there still. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, nothing graphic, by the way. The mouse is moving around. The chat's still there talking. He refreshes and oopsie daisy. Uh-oh. That's not good. Yeah, again, I'm not gonna I'll turn the sound off for you, but there isn't really much sound anyway to it, but yeah, let's just read the chat here. Sleep tight, don't let the bed bug bite bros. I don't know what that means. Do the Anakin wedding, couple witnesses and no party. Wait, good night, everyone. God bless you and your families. Good night, Nick. Sleep well. And now people are like, WTF, whoa. They're disturbed by it. Question mark, question mark? WTF? Hacked, hack. WTF. Hacked. Yeah, it was just like a really odd thing to have popped up there, right? And no one claimed credit for the hack. I don't know. I think maybe he was just kind of perusing some adult entertainment websites and doesn't want to admit it. That's my personal opinion. I mean, let me just kind of draw out even more of the picture that is Nick Fuentes for you. Check this one out. He's talking about Jews in this one. By the way, this is from May 30th, 2024, when this clip came out.
Oh, all the people on the Trump team that are with us. I know all the people that are ideologically sympathetic. I know all the people that are on side. They feel exactly the same way as I do. They feel exactly the same way.
So he's saying he knows people on the Trump team, and he does. He ate dinner with Donald Trump and Kanye West not too long ago and got a ton of heat for it. He absolutely knows the Trump team. And he's saying that they all know him and are all in.
Many of them are borderline considering quitting politics because of their experience with Trump. And they see that it is...
It's because Trump was ostensibly pro-Israel, basically, I believe.
The same game that we played in the first term, which is battling the Jews in the White House, battling the neocons, battling the Israel firsters.
It's because Trump has, like, Jewish family members. I think, like, his daughter is Jewish, and Jared Kushner is Jewish, maybe? I don't remember. Bunch of Jewish people there, though. And, of course, Nick Fuentes believes there's some conspiracy where the Jews are taking over the White House or something.
I think the Groypers are going to withhold the votes. It's going to be a close election. If he can go to the Libertarian Convention, then he can give something to the Groypers. If he wants to go for the libertarians to get 1% of the vote, and
Groypers are his little group of followers. Just what a weird name. Why did he pick that name?
at a convention with 1,000 people, well, then he can earn our vote as well. And I don't like what I see.
So anyway, yeah, he has a problem with Trump and in his proximity to Jews. You know what's interesting, though? On that note, talking about the Jews and stuff, there's another guy, Lance Wallnau, who's really close to Trump, like spiritual advisor, talks to him regularly about how to connect with the evangelical voting bloc. So Wallnau is an evangelical preacher, a TV personality, very, very famous, Kenneth Copeland style and Kenneth Copeland level fame, almost. This is Todd Coconato. He's another televangelist, but we've got right here in the middle, this is Lance Wallnau. Okay, now, listen to this really interesting breakdown that these two guys give. It's related to Nick Fuentes. Trust me, just listen.
We have another clip I want to play real quick, and then you can comment on this as well, where President Trump is actually talking about some of what we just talked about. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
Why are we allowing these millions of people to come?
That's interesting, isn't it? For the audio audience, they're playing a clip of the debate from Nick Fuentes' stream. Why is a Nick Fuentes stream clip even on their computers? They didn't pull it straight from the debate itself? That's odd, right? I'm going to take that as solid evidence that Lance Wallnau, Todd Coconato, and Mario Murillo here on the right are all three connected to Nick Fuentes. I think that's pretty obvious. Like I said, full-blown Nazi. Dude is a full-blown Nazi. So I start wondering to myself when I'm prepping earlier, I was like, Lance Wallnau vocally speaks positively of Israel, right? So there's something weird happening here. I go in search of mentions of Israel, and to my surprise, I couldn't actually find almost anything from Lance Wallnau talking about Israel. A little bit. He says he supports Israel over Palestine or whatever. But I did find a clip of Lance Wallnau explaining why he is in favor of Israel and what they're doing right now. He basically says he wants Israel to exist so that it can be destroyed by God or by humans or whatever in the lead up to Armageddon. There are two groups of Republicans. One group likes Israel because they need it to exist for Jesus to come back theologically, but they know that they're going to all die in the end, and they're perfectly fine with that. In fact, they revel in that fact. And the other group just hates Jews because they killed Jesus or some other nonsense. They're just straight up anti-Semitic Nazis. Now, which group do you think Lance Wallnau is from, knowing that he watches Nick Fuentes? One can only guess. Now, let me leave you on this note with Nick Fuentes. If you're unfamiliar with him, let me just play one last clip for you and show you what Nick Fuentes intends to happen next. He's extremely influential in politics. He's had dinner with Trump and the whole nine. And obviously he's watched by a bunch of really influential people, right? Listen to his plans. This is from late June 2022.
That is precisely what we intend to do, is to impose Christian laws on everyone in the United States of America. That is what we have to do as Christians. We have to make sure that, like the moon reflects the sun, the state reflects the church. We have to make sure that our normative laws and the laws that are passed by the government reflect the natural and the moral laws written by God. That is our job as Christians. Now, how do you coexist in the government with atheists or Jews that say that pornography is okay?
Okay, look, I'm not saying porn is okay. I'm saying it's none of your goddamn business what people look at on their own time, is all.
And actually, it's our right to do that. It's our right to watch it. It's our right to make it.
Dude, it's called freedom of expression.
And the freedom to do that is our is the end of society. You can't share those two values. And the same goes for feminism and the role of women, and the same goes for homosexuality.
You cannot be in favor of people living the lives that they want to live without affecting you. You can't be in favor of people doing that and be a Christian simultaneously. That's his position. That is psychotic. Telling you, man, this guy's got problems. And I truthfully, I could not be happier that he got charged with battery and now has a mugshot out there. That is top tier. I love everything about it. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Next up, the CEO of a health insurance company was shot and killed in Manhattan, and Fox News just can't figure out why anybody would be in favor of it. Personally, I don't wish death on anybody, but I'm not going to cry when I read the obituary. Let's talk about Fox News' reaction to this. It is predictably psychotic. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. The CEO of United Healthcare, health insurance company or something like that, was shot in Manhattan. It was super sudden, out of nowhere. Assassin comes along, just pulls a trigger. It's like, wow. Now, the right is trying to make this a right versus left thing, when in reality, it's a rich thing versus people who don't have enough money to pay for health insurance thing. It's a rich versus poor thing. Jesse Waters, if you guys are familiar with him, he's like a Fox News. I think he's like the primetime host on Fox News. He had some things to say on his show about it. He did this whole segment on it. Listen to what he said on his show about this United Health CEO.
Thompson leaves behind a wife and 2 kids, but that didn't stop some people from appearing to praise his death online. Just hours after Thompson was gunned down, former Washington Post reporter.
Look, I don't revel in anyone's death. I don't want anyone to die. But I'm not going to cry when I read your obituary. This guy did some really bad things. He made society substantially worse. And I'll talk about it in a second. Just keep listening here.
Taylor Lorenz appeared to celebrate the murder of the United Healthcare CEO on social media. She shared this post.
I don't think anyone is celebrating his death. There are not many people, but they're like, maybe people will learn a lesson from this, that you're pushing us to a certain point where things are going to get real ugly. I don't want that. I don't want to have to pay $2,000 a month in health insurance.
Post about an insurance company on Blue Sky and wrote, quote, and people wonder why we want these executives dead.
Yeah, I don't want anybody dead. I want people to get a message. Like, this can only last so long. It can only go on for so long before everybody in the country is destitute. Is that like what people are shooting for? I don't know. I don't understand why the healthcare system, the healthcare companies, and the CEOs continue to charge us out the wazoo like this. I pay thousands a month for health insurance for 3 people, me, my wife, my kid, and they cover nothing. I still pay for all of my medicine, all of my doctor's visits, all of my everything. They don't pay for anything. Why am I giving them that money? I don't have that to give them. They are ripping people off. Insurance is a scam. All insurance is a scam. If something requires insurance, it should be controlled by the government. You should pay into it through the government, and the government should pay out the claims. Because it shouldn't be based on, it shouldn't have a profit motive in it. Like, if you need car insurance, there shouldn't be a profit motive at all. And there certainly shouldn't be health insurance, ever. In my opinion, erase health insurance completely. Close United Healthcare, whatever it is. Close its doors and set up a single insurance company, one that's controlled by the government, that we all pay into, and they all pay out the claims.
dead. Now, Lorenz did an interview with TMZ trying to walk back that statement, but you can understand why people were clearly disturbed by her initial post there on social media. Meantime,
okay, who was disturbed by this post? I mean, it seems to me she's just drawing attention to the fact that people are like literally dying right now.
The search for whoever killed the CEO is still underway. Jesse?
Anyway, yeah. Again, I don't revel in anyone's death. I don't want anyone dead. I'm not going to celebrate anyone's death. The guy had a family. We'll give him that. But I'm not going to cry when I read his obituary. Do you know how many people have died because of what he has done? Countless numbers of people. Again, we'll get to denied claims in a second. First, let's listen to this.
We've gotten to a point where healthcare is so inaccessible and unaffordable, people are justified in their frustration.
So the media's okay with murder?
Healthcare costs
Yeah, this is Jesse Waters' classic propaganda right here.
are too damn high.
Look, healthcare costs are too high. It's not about that. It is literally like, I can either have food or I can have health insurance. So I'm going to sit outside of a hospital bleeding out and dying because I couldn't afford healthcare. I'm going to go bankrupt, financial ruin, because I broke my arm. That's what we're dealing with right now. It's not like, you know, people that are listening to this, or people who are writing it more specifically, like Jesse Waters and his writers, they're sitting there thinking, well, I have costs I don't want to pay too. Like, I don't want to pay taxes. I have a lot of money that I could invest in this, whatever, this company or this real estate or whatever, if I didn't have to pay back into society like everybody else. So I don't want to pay this, but I have to. They should have to pay things they don't want to pay for too. That's not what's happening. It's a completely different situation. This isn't money that I can live without. I can't live without the money that's going to healthcare. So now I have no healthcare. That's the situation we're in. People literally dying. Let me just give you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about here. United Healthcare Community Plan. This is from the company whose CEO was just assassinated. Your insurance company, United Healthcare, has denied your claim as non-medically necessary for your emergency room visit. In order for United Healthcare to reconsider your claim, the enclosed authorization form needs to be signed and sent back to us as soon as possible. This signed authorization form will allow us to submit an appeal on your behalf to reconsider services rendered for payment. Listed below is an address to mail or fax the signed form. If we don't receive the attached forms and your health plan continues to deny, you may be responsible for the billed amount. Emergency room. Here's another. United Healthcare Community Plan received a request from Olympic Pharmacy and Healthcare Services on 11/29/2022 for an advanced Group 3 power wheelchair with features. The request was reviewed on December 2nd, 2022 by a medical director, Carter Sigmund, MD. Based on review of the information provided, the request for an advanced Group 3 power wheelchair with features was denied on December 2nd, 2022. The reason for the denial is your child's doctor asked for an advanced Group 3 power wheelchair with features. These are requested to help your child's mobility. This is because your child has cerebral palsy. This is a condition that can cause muscle weakness. We reviewed your child's health plan rules. If a wheelchair is not approved, its features cannot be approved. To approve this power wheelchair, your child's records must clearly show all of the following. A simpler wheelchair is not available to help you with your child's mobility, and a simpler wheelchair cannot meet your child's needs. Kid has cerebral palsy, needs a wheelchair. United Healthcare denied a wheelchair to a kid with cerebral palsy. How about this one? December 9th, 2022. A claimant may file a supplemental claim by submitting or identifying new and relevant evidence. New evidence is evidence not previously part of the actual record before agency adjudicators. Relevant evidence means evidence that tends to prove or disprove a matter at issue. Oh my God, yes, I know. Just get to the point. We acknowledge receipt of your private medical records and lay statements intending to link your current disability to a disease, event, or injury from your military service. Your service treatment records do not contain complaints, treatment, or diagnosis for this condition. It's anxiety and or depression. So dude is in the military, presumably. gets anxiety or depression from it, but didn't report it when he was in the military, I guess, and now the insurance isn't going to pay for it because there's no paper trail to show a direct connection between his military service and depression or anxiety because he didn't report it at that moment. You've got to be kidding me with this. Your service treatment records don't contain complaints, treatment, or diagnosis for this condition. The evidence does not show an event, disease, or injury in service. We acknowledge your submission of current evidence for your claimed condition of anxiety and depression. Looking at the totality of your claim, it's noted that your service treatment records are silent for any complaints of any mental health condition. However, your evaluation report and counseling were outstanding with recommendations for awards and promotions. Your service treatment records do not contain complaints, blah, blah, blah. Why did they repeat this like 3 different times? While some of the evidence submitted may not be discussed, all evidence was discussed, and only the most significant or pertinent evidence is being discussed to include but not limited to service treatment records and VAMC treatment records. That is insane. This dude is having his claim denied to pay for presumably therapy and medicine, maybe for depression and anxiety, maybe PTSD induced. Who knows? They certainly don't know because they won't approve it. They won't investigate it. They won't move forward with it. Denying this claim for depression and anxiety. Now, that's going to make his depression and anxiety way better, isn't it? What is wrong with these people? You know that UHC, United Healthcare Company, or whatever the hell it's called? Hang on, let me just double check this before I say it. This is from dissentmagazine.org. Take it or leave it, trustworthiness-wise. The statistics include United Healthcare having the highest denial rate, 32% in 2023, of any U.S. insurance company. 32% denial rate. And who's responsible for telling people that they need to raise the denial rate? Our good buddy Brian Thompson, or whatever the his name is. I'm sorry he died. I don't want anybody dead, really. But I'm not going to sit here and cry at the obituary. I'm just not. You know whose obituary I will cry over? The kid with cerebral palsy who couldn't have a wheelchair because he wouldn't let him have it. Or how about this one? This is a letter from a doctor to the insurance company. Dear buttheads at the insurance company, I can't believe it's come to this. I have to take time away from my patients to inform you that you are idiots. This whole experience makes me want to vomit. But of course, I wouldn't dare throw up without the approval of my insurance company. Which brings me to my point. Apparently, you've decided that a child receiving chemotherapy has no reason to be nauseated. I didn't think I was unnecessarily writing prescriptions for antiemetics, which is anti-vomiting medicine, I believe. For blank, obviously you would know better about the side effects of chemotherapy than me, my peers, and the entire scientific community, going all the way back to Dr. Sidney Farber. I suppose my alternative to Zofran and scopolamine is to let blank know that the nausea is all in his head. However, I don't imagine you would cover any psychology consultation either. So I'll just tell blank to stop throwing up. Thank you for that simple solution. You have saved your greedy, blood-sucking corporation shareholders a great deal of money, I'm sure. Of course, that would be the bottom line. Feel free to contact me if you need further information about how much you guys suck. Sincerely, blank. United Healthcare Community. UHC. Brian Thompson was running it. Brian Thompson, this guy. I'm crying over the obituary of that kid who had cancer and couldn't get the medicine he needed to keep from vomiting. That's the obituary I'm crying over. Anyway, back to Jesse Waters.
We've gotten to a point where healthcare is so inaccessible and unaffordable, people are justified in their frustration.
So the media's okay with murder?
Just framing it like that tells me that Jesse Waters has no idea what people are dealing with. Just completely outside of reality. He's in a little bubble where he's never had to worry about paying for anything ever. And when I say worry about, I mean like you're buying loaves of bread because you can't afford anything else. You're just buying bread and butter and ramen noodles, and you're just eating those, eating those because you don't have the money for anything else. It's going to the pharmacy to pay for your medicine. He is never worried about that.
healthcare costs are too high.
And he's blaming like everybody else for being unhappy with this. Again, I'm not in favor of anyone dying, anybody being killed, none of that. I'm not in favor of it. I just would like a little bit more like sympathy, compassion, understanding, just like this much more from Jesse Waters. And on that note, the NYPD came up with a couple of pictures that they want everybody to look out for. See if we can find this assassin. All right, so we know apparently that this is the assassin right here. This is a picture of him from when he shot the gun, right? This is a picture released by the NYPD, and they said that this is the same guy. These are the same people. And what's more, you know what else they said? NYPD says this is from the same event, the same day, and he's wearing the exact same clothing in these two pictures. That is what the NYPD said. But if you notice here, this jacket does not have pockets on the front. This one does. This backpack has black straps. This one has white. Are they ruining some poor guy's life right now? I appreciate, though, what New Yorkers are doing right now. Of course, this happened in New York City. So New Yorkers held a contest, a shooter look-alike contest. This is on New York Post. Naturally, it's going to be like far-right propaganda. Unfortunately, that's just what the New York Post is nowadays. But just listen to this article here. New Yorkers mockingly celebrated the assassination of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Washington Square Park with a truly tasteless shooter look-alike contest as the frantic manhunt for the brazen killer entered its fourth day. Well, I don't know that they don't have to be celebrating it to make a point that these pictures do not look like the same person at all. I mean, is that not clear as day? How can they possibly make this mistake? They're not even like the same colors that he's wearing. And again, these aren't from different days. This is supposed to be the same outfit, the same everything. 8 contestants donning hooded outerwear and face masks were surrounded Friday by dozens of onlookers whose cheers amounted to votes in the nose-thumbing stunt. The winner, whose green jacket and face covering made him a dead ringer for the cold-blooded assassin, said he headed toward the park after hearing about the contest that morning. I got no looks until I got over here, and now everyone wants a picture with me, he told the Post. He's the one onlooker remarked as he was introduced as contestant number 6. I'm sorry, man. I'm having trouble having any sympathy for Brian Thompson or his family after what he has done to materially make society worse. And that's not even all I've got for you. Check this out. The new CEO of UHC, or whatever it is, had some comments to lay down. The CEO of United Health Group, Andrew Whitty, UHG, I guess, Andrew Whitty, told employees he would increase security, including perimeter protection, at the company's sites following the killing of one of their colleagues, CEO of the company's health insurance branch, Brian Thompson. There you go. So I guess it's a broader company. In comments shared with The Guardian, Whitty said the company would make permanent changes that would make campuses less welcoming, but they were necessary in the country's current climate. You're telling me you're going to put more money into security guards? You're going to pay for cameras on site instead of pay for the fucking wheelchairs? Is that what you're telling me right now? You're telling me you want to continue to make people's lives harder and put that money that you are taking from sick children and give it to some security guards so that you can't be like attacked for taking the money from sick kids? Bro, we guard against the pressures that exist for unsafe or unnecessary care to be delivered in a way that makes the whole system too complex and ultimately unsustainable. He guards against. So he's saying he's providing a public service. You should be thanking him. He guards against the pressures in society that make, what does it make it unsafe? He's protecting you from unsafe medical procedures by denying your claim for a wheelchair. I've never been more proud of what this company and our colleagues do on behalf of the people in this country. I urge you to tune out the negative messaging you hear on social media, Whitty said. Now, I have a question for you. Does he really believe that he's benefiting society right now? Is this real? Or is he just like pretending? Is this him just trying to cope with the fact that he is a monster and everybody in the country knows it? Or is he really delusional in there? Whitty made the comments in the face of online vitriol in response to the killing of Thompson, a 50-year-old CEO of United Healthcare who's survived by 2 sons and his wife, Paulette. Thompson was killed early Wednesday morning in Midtown Manhattan, just outside the site of the company's annual investor meeting, by an unknown assailant who shot the executive at least twice and then fled on an e-bike. Police are still searching for the suspect, released photos and information about items found at the scene, so on and so forth. Shell casings the shell casings had words scrawled on them: deny, depose, defend. The motive for the killing is unknown. Well, I mean, I think that kind of spells it out pretty clearly: deny, depose, defend. I believe that's the title of a book about health insurance companies and how they keep from paying out. They deny claims, they drag things out and try to make you appeal over and over and over again so that you don't want to even bother going to a hospital when you absolutely need to. It's a known legal strategy that they're using that's like discussed in legal circles a lot. And the end result is lots and lots of death. In 2008, Obama was talking about creating Obamacare. And maybe it was 2012. I don't know when he did it. Anyway, he's talking about creating Obamacare, which we have now, which sucks. I mean, it's better than what we did have, which was nothing. But it was, Obamacare, it was a plan written by the Heritage Foundation, the same people that wrote Project 2025. Obamacare was. So not top tier. It was a half measure that Obama put in to try to meet Republicans halfway. And we saw how that went, right? When Obama was pushing for Obamacare, it was either John McCain or Romney. I don't remember which one was talking about it, but they said it was Paul Ryan, I think. He was the Speaker of the House. He said there are going to be death panels. If Obama is instituted, there are going to be death panels where people have to sit there and decide who gets to die because they don't get care. That is literally happening now. It has been happening the entire time. In a single-payer system, which again is a half measure to what it should be, in a single-payer system, he says in a single-payer system, there would be death panels. There are death panels now. We got to do something about this, man. We've got to lobby the government. We've got to write our congressmen, call people, whatever it takes, because this is nuts. Absolutely nuts what we're dealing with right now. People literally dying outside the emergency room because they're not paying for anything. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do the other CEOs really believe that they're doing good in the world? Do they really believe that? Tell me what you think. Apparently they identified the guy as Luigi, I guess is his name. He has a manifesto that I kind of want to glance through for a second. Apparently he's followed like Elon Musk and Joe Rogan and some other kind of right-wing characters, but I can't really tell if he's like right-wing or left-wing, though the right has tried desperately to turn it into a left-right thing. So take a look here. This is part of his manifesto. To the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. This is fairly trivial. Some elementary social engineering, basic CAD, a lot of patience. CAD? Like AutoCAD? Isn't that like the 3D modeling software? That's weird. The spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and to-do lists that illuminate the gist of it. My tech is pretty locked down because I work in engineering, so probably not much info there. I do apologize for any strife of traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. United is the indecipherable largest company in the U.S. by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, Walmart. It's grown and grown, but has our life expectancy? No, the reality is these indecipherable have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Obviously, the problem is more complex, but I do not have space and frankly don't pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument. But many have illuminated the corruption and greed, Rosenthal or more, decades ago, and the problems simply remain. It's not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at play. Evidently, I'm the first to face it with such brutal honesty. His arguments sound absolutely on point. He's absolutely correct about everything, except for one thing. In addition to all of this, he apparently left an Amazon review on Ted Kaczynski's biography, I guess. He's like the Unabomber, I think. Yeah, Ted Kaczynski, he died in ADX Florence Supermax forever ago. ADX Florence Supermax is like a horrific place, and nobody deserves to go there. Nobody. It has, 9/11 terrorists and other people like that. You will never have human contact ever again for the rest of your life. Not with guards, not with fellow inmates. They keep you completely separate forever. That might be where this guy is going. You don't have a window in your cell. You have a little, like a 2-inch slit up the wall that lets kind of fresh air in, I guess. You will never be outside again if you're an ADX Florence Supermax. You walk out of your cell, one prisoner at a time, and you stand in a little area that has like a starlight thing. What do you call it? Like a glass ceiling that you can see out of, and that's it. For like an hour a day. If you don't cooperate with them, their version of solitary, I mean, the whole thing is solitary. So to punish prisoners, they take you to a room and strap you to a table and keep you strapped to the table for days. You don't get up to use the bathroom. You just go right there and they hose you off. ADX Florence Supermax is a horrific place that I believe violates human rights to a horrific degree. And I don't want anybody going there. But the point is that Ted Kaczynski was there, and he died there not too long ago. This guy reviewed Ted Kaczynski's book and said that he was on point with everything, which tells you the guy's not all there mentally. Like, Kaczynski was absolutely nuts. And the things that this guy did were unhinged and unacceptable. I can agree with his complaints about society without justifying what he did. This is on Newsweek. The suspect in the United Healthcare CEO shooting called the Unabomber an extreme political revolutionary, according to a Goodreads review he left on Ted Kaczynski's manifesto. New York officials identified 26-year-old Luigi Mangione as a person of interest Monday, 5 days after the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was fatally shot in front of a Hilton hotel in Midtown Manhattan last Wednesday. Mangione was detained at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. A Goodreads profile that belongs to Mangione showed he'd reviewed Kaczynski's notorious Industrial Society and its Future manifesto in January. Yeah, Kaczynski, the Unabomber, his whole motivation was basically technology is going too far and we need to step backward. It's destroying the environment. He was an environmentalist. He was also like a mathematician, I think, like a professor at a college or something. Kaczynski was. Kaczynski, often referred to as a Unabomber, attacked academics, businessmen, and random civilians with homemade bombs for nearly 20 years, with the goal of triggering the collapse of the modern social order. Kaczynski justified his actions in a 35,000-word manifesto, which was published jointly by the New York Times and the Washington Post in 1995, amid the threat of continuing violence. Here's a quote. "It's easy to quickly and thoughtlessly write this off as a manifesto of a lunatic in order to avoid facing some of the uncomfortable problems it identifies." This is Luigi Mangione reviewing the Unabomber's manifesto. Wow. But it's simply impossible to ignore how prescient many of his predictions about modern society turned out, Mangione wrote on Goodreads. He was a violent individual, rightfully imprisoned, who maimed innocent people. While these actions tend to be characterized as those of a crazy Luddite, however, they are more accurately seen as those of an extreme political revolutionary. Personal information that has emerged about Mangione after he was identified Monday suggests similarities between his biography and Kaczynski's. The Unabomber had scored 167 on an IQ test. Wow, as a boy, and was accepted by Harvard at the age of 16. That is nuts. He went on to attend graduate school at the University of Michigan before becoming an assistant professor at the University of California, Berkeley, when he was 25. That's crazy. So the bottom line here is that this guy was correct about his arguments, but incorrect about his reasons for doing what he did and his approach to solve the problems. He basically said in another part, maybe in a different part of his manifesto, he said that people don't care about protest anymore, and it's time for violent action. There's no other fix for this. We can't lobby to change it. We can't work inside the government to fix it. We can't protest because nobody cares. The only thing left to us is violence. That was his reasoning. I completely disagree. I don't believe that violence is justified. I don't want to live in a society where violence is justified, political violence, under any circumstances. Let me put it this way. Any political environment that allows violence for political reasons will be worse than any other political situation. Because it like political violence, widespread, rampant political violence, and the acceptance of it leads us to an authoritarian dystopia. It's like it leads us to the collapse of society when that's acceptable. If we accept what this guy did, that means that we now have to accept it when Donald Trump supporters become violent, because political violence is a solution to the problem. I don't accept political violence when he does it. I don't accept it when Trump supporters do it. I don't accept it. We might have insanely high healthcare rates, but I would rather have insanely high healthcare rates than live in an environment where political violence is accepted. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Next up, Fox News host Jesse Waters laid down a 3-minute screed of nonstop propaganda about how Joe Biden is a Bond villain. It was impressive. This guy's about as low as they come, and I say that after covering Alex Jones. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. I don't know if you guys know Jesse Waters, but he's a right-wing Fox News host. He kind of took over for Tucker Carlson. Total scumbag, this guy. Absolutely awful in every way. Just listen to this, get an idea of what kind of a person he is. It's from August 31st, 2023.
Respect a lot what you said about the dinner table and your personal situation. My children are in Catholic school. They tell me stories about their friends in other schools where it's like a gender laboratory. And teachers are coming out to their students.
It's a gender laboratory in these schools, okay?
And there's pride parades and stickers and symposiums.
And you're good because your kids are talking to you.
Yes, and it's all about open communication. Tell us about your special. It's on Fox News.
Oh my God, dude. Wow, I forgot to put in a break here. Well, the point is that Jesse Waters is like kind of a scumbag, and he's like obsessed with denigrating other people and hurting them just because he likes doing it. Well, he released this propagandistic screed of nonsense on Biden not too long ago that I wanted to listen to. One more clip to establish who this guy is, though. He interviewed Roseanne, and it just got weird.
Your special, it's on Fox Nation now, Roseanne.
Well, Fox Nation came to me with a contract saying, we'd love you to do an hour of comedy. And I was shocked. I was so happy.
She's a QAnoner, by the way. Full-blown, all in for Q. Thinks that there are literal vampires that are eating babies and stuff. Wild.
But they said no racism, sexism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, or transphobia. I go, there goes my whole effing app.
Wow, just lay it out for us then. Okay, so you're saying you're racist, homophobic, sexist, transphobic, and all that other stuff. Great.
They said, and you can't say the F word neither. But then my lawyers were able to go back a few times and wrangle the right for me to say the F word 3 times. And
okay, hey, Take the wins where you get them.
So I was able to do that. And it's the most offensive I've ever been in my life after getting canceled.
Why is she smiling about this? She gets canceled. You hearing this? You know why Roseanne was canceled, quote unquote? Because she said that Valerie Jarrett was an ape. Valerie Jarrett worked for Obama in the White House, and she's a black woman. She said that she looks like an ape. That has some racial overtones that I don't even know like how to describe. Like, that is one of the most racist things that she could have possibly said, short of saying the N-word. So anyway, she tweeted that out. She thought Valerie Jarrett was an ape. And the next day she said, I'm sorry, I was Ambien tweeting. And Ambien officially said, racism is not a side effect of Ambien. Oh my God. So yeah, tell us more about how you were canceled, Roseanne. Go on.
Ever been in my life after getting canceled, me and all my friends who got canceled in the cancel culture, which really sucks.
She is an odd person, like really odd. Cancel culture did not get you canceled, Roseanne. You got you canceled by calling a black person an ape. Are you shitting me right now?
We said, hey, if we ever get the chance, we made a deal. If we ever get a chance to come back, we're going to be even worse than we ever were. And I am more offensive than I've ever been.
And for some reason, she's proud of that.
Because that's what it's going to take in this country to bring them down.
Yeah, be a shithead. That'll make the country a lot better. Just be a terrible shithead to everybody. Great idea. She knows what she's doing.
Bring down the most offensive people who are doing everything wrong.
Oh, she's offended now.
You got to laugh them to scorn. And that's what I try to do in my stand-up special, and thank you for having me on.
Well, you're welcome, and I feel like the Eagles were canceled, but they'll be back.
Okay, I don't know what that meant. Anyway, that's Jesse Waters. Now well, Roseanne wasn't even smiling; she's just deadpan staring at him after that last one. Anyway, yeah, that's Jesse Waters. I want to lead up to what we're about to listen to now. This is him laying down just propagandistic line after propagandistic line. Just listen to this. This is from December 5th, 2024.
If he didn't like a law, he'd break it.
Talking about Biden.
He's been smacked down by the courts more than anyone.
Really? Okay. I mean, he's just like lying here, obviously. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop every like few seconds, but we'll listen to it in its full context in a second. This is the guy that supports Donald Trump, and he's saying that Biden broke laws all the time? No, he didn't. I don't know what he's talking about.
Smacked down by the courts more than anyone. His family doesn't pay taxes.
Yes, they do. That's just a flat out lie.
But you do. And he takes your tax money and spends it on migrants.
No, he doesn't. It's just lie after lie after lie with this dude. And everything that he says has just a little bit of a grain of truth there, kind of, I suppose. Like Hunter Biden had a run-in with the IRS, but all of his taxes are all paid. They're all paid up. There's no, issue with it or whatever. Notice he didn't say Biden doesn't pay taxes because there's never been a problem on that front. But anyway.
Money and spends it on migrants.
I'm not even sure what to say about that. Like, I don't even know what it means. People seem to think that, like, migrants are taking more money out of the system than they're putting in. And I believe that that's completely incorrect. And either way, even if it were correct, even if it were incorrect, even if immigrants are taking more money out of the system than they're putting in, that's why the system is there, to help the poorest among us, to help the tired, the poor, the weary, the huddled masses and all that stuff on the Statue of Liberty. That's why the system's there.
And then calls you a bigot for saying that's not fair.
This is just delusion land. None of this is happening. He's getting people riled up over being called a bigot and pretending that they're just being called like racist for absolutely no reason. Oh my God, dude.
If he didn't like a law, he'd break it. He's been smacked down by the courts more than anyone. His family doesn't pay taxes, but you do. And he takes your tax money and spends it on migrants and then calls you a bigot for saying that's not fair.
It's so wild to hear that in its full context. It's all nonsensical lies all the way down.
See what he's doing here? He's claiming the moral high ground when he's really trying to import voters.
That's not happening. The importing voters thing, again, complete nonsense. Jesse Waters claims that there's something called the Great Replacement conspiracy theory. It was, I don't know that it was invented in Germany by Hitler, but it was most definitely popularized and used by Hitler to claim that Jews were flooding the system to overwhelm the voting so that honest, everyday Aryan Germans wouldn't be able, their vote would be diluted, basically, and the Jews would take over the government. And that's what Jesse Waters is claiming here. Great Replacement conspiracy. That's not how large groups of people work, like on a large scale. It just doesn't work that way. It takes like 7 years to become a citizen. And how many of those new citizens after like 7 years are even going to register to vote? Some, I suppose. What percentage of the ones that register to vote are going to vote Democrat? The split is surprising. A lot of immigrants from South and Central America actually vote Republican because they've had run-ins with like socialism, especially Cuba. They have a visceral reaction to the words socialism or communism. So they'll vote Republican every single time because they don't want to be in a situation where they could be anywhere near any kind of system that is even similar to what they were previously under. So anyway, I think you'd need something like 100 or 150 million immigrants to barely tip the scales one way or another. And there are only 300 million people in the country in the first place. So Great Replacement conspiracy is just a lie all the way down. It was in 1933 when Hitler was using it, and it is today too.
See what he's doing here? He's claiming the moral high ground when he's really trying to import voters. Biden says the laptop was fake and then pardoned his son for everything we found on it. Everyone's waking up to the fact that this whole presidency was a lie.
It's one lie after another with this guy. Hunter Biden's laptop. I don't know that anybody said Hunter Biden's laptop was fake. I think people said that there was probably a real laptop. Truthfully, I'm not even sure that there is a laptop, honestly. I'll go there. I don't think that there's a laptop. I don't know. I'm not convinced. In my personal opinion, I think it's possible, nay likely, that Hunter Biden was hacked. I mean, that's obvious. He most definitely was. And a bunch of his stuff was downloaded. A bunch of his pictures and videos and all kinds of other things, emails and stuff. And in my opinion, I think that those things were uploaded to a computer that looked like, it could have potentially been a personal computer. And whoever hacked this system dropped this computer off at a computer repairman that was conveniently blind, so he wouldn't be able to identify who actually dropped it off, and then just never came back for it. Said that, "Hi, I'm Hunter Biden. I have this laptop I want to turn in." It all sounds completely fake. And as a matter of fact, this is in the exact pattern of Russian propaganda. This is the exact type of thing you'd expect to see from Russian propaganda. It seems like Russian propaganda to me. All that being said, I don't know what was on the laptop that was bad. Like, what was on there? It's just like a bunch of pictures of, it was, what was it? It was like nudes of himself. He had nudes of himself. And Marjorie Taylor Greene brought him into Congress and officially put them in the congressional record. Some dude's nudes? Are you kidding me? How much more vile can somebody be than that? So the whole laptop thing was like all lie all the way down. This guy lays down like at least one lie every sentence that he says. It's wild.
See what he's doing here? He's claiming the moral high ground when he's really trying to import voters. Biden says the laptop was fake and then pardoned his son for everything we found on it.
Well, he didn't. There was nothing on his laptop to be pardoned for. He pardoned him to protect him from political retaliation. Jesus Christ.
For everything we found on it. Everyone's waking up to the fact that this whole presidency was a lie.
You were intending to do this all along.
Okay, I don't know who this guy is. Who is this? Stephen A. Smith. I mean, he's pretending that this guy is a Democrat. Is he? Stephen A. Smith. He's an ESPN reporter? I have no clue who he is. He's got a very distinctive face, though, that's for sure. All right, go on.
Intending to do this all along, which again is no problem. But it doesn't make you any less full of it. You do understand that the Democrats are no longer in a position to say anything, right?
Say anything about what? Hunter Biden was pardoned because of political motivation, a political demonization against him. Donald Trump pardoned a ton of people, like Steve Bannon, Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn was a double agent working for another country against the United States, okay? He shouldn't have been pardoned. Why did you pardon him? Trump pardoned a bunch of people that should be in prison, like Roger Stone, too. Literally worked with Russia. Guccifer 2.0 was the hacker from Russia to obtain hacked materials to release to the public to hurt his political opponent, to sway the election. Got hacked materials from Russia to sway the election. So I don't know what you're talking about. Can't say anything. I don't know what that means. I'm going to complain when Trump pardons literal criminals like that, like people who are working against the United States. Absolutely.
You do understand that the Democrats are no longer in a position to say anything, right? You can talk till the cows come home. You whistling into the wind. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say right now. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your party.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. He's very charismatic, though.
Because when you pardon your son, going back on your word, telling the American people there was no way that you were going to pardon him when everybody and their grandmama knew you were lying, but didn't hold.
I didn't think he was lying. I'll tell you what happened. I think that he pardoned Hunter Biden because he realized that democracy is f***ed. I think Biden realized that it's over and that the next step is authoritarianism, and we need to prep for that. Part of the prepping involves protecting Trump's political enemies from politically motivated prosecution. And that's totally fair, in my opinion. I think that's fair. That is really, really disturbing, though. That's what disturbed me about the pardon. I don't think Hunter did anything to deserve this degree of insanity. Not anywhere near it. I'm just concerned by the fact that it seems like Biden doesn't believe that we're going to make it through the other side, maybe.
When everybody and their grandmama knew you were lying, but didn't hold you accountable for it. And now you've confirmed what people believe, that you were probably going to be lying about that very thing that you said you wouldn't do for your son.
Like, I don't know what any of that meant. Like, he's just going off about something. Is he really upset about this stupid? Again, Michael Flynn was literally working for a foreign government. I don't remember hearing him say a word about Michael Flynn. In fact, Jesse Waters and Fox News have worked with Michael Flynn. They're like friends with the guy.
Are any Democrats willing to raise their hands and say, I'm a proud Biden Democrat?
I'm a Biden Democrat, yeah. I'm a fan of left-leaning principles, and Biden isn't exactly where I want him to be, as I'm sure that Trump isn't where Jesse Waters wants him to be on some things. But I appreciate the things that Biden has accomplished. So in that sense, you could call me a Biden Democrat. Sure.
Does anybody want to be associated with Joe Biden at this point?
Sure. Yeah, whatever.
If you are, it's an open invitation to come on this show. Come on the show and tell me you're a Biden Democrat.
And of course, when nobody shows up because he wouldn't let them on, he's going to say, look, no one's a Biden Democrat. Right here. Give me a call anytime. Email. Email is in my About section on my YouTube channel. Hit me up.
Why you're proud. Give me one example. I don't even think Biden's getting a library. No donor is going to give this 82-year-old failed president money for a library.
Oh, yeah. I think most presidents get libraries donated to them, right? Or something.
What are they going to get out of it?
They'll get having a library donated in their name. Why would anybody donate anything? What do they get out of that?
Library? What are they going to get out of it? Biden's going to have to store all his papers in his garage next to his Corvette.
Again, this is all lies. Again, it's all propagandistic lies. It's a shout out to when Joe Biden found a classified document in his garage and turned it over to the Secret Service immediately when he found it. It was from his time when he was a senator, I think, or something. As opposed to Donald Trump, who kept boxes, left the White House with them, refused to give them back until his house was raided.
Hunter can stand in the driveway and collect entrance fees.
I don't know what that means.
Vox says for Democrats, the Hunter Biden pardon is a problem and an opportunity. It's now their chance to break from the big guy. It's already happening.
I have no idea what he's talking about. Democrats in disarray? No, they're not.
Joe just lost Chuck Todd.
Oh, yeah. Apparently Chuck Todd's a total scumbag now. I'm sorry. I'm stopping every few seconds. Let me just step back and we'll listen to the whole thing in its full context. And then, and then we'll break it down again.
Failed president money for a library? What are they going to get out of it? Biden's going to have to store all his papers in his garage next to his Corvette. Hunter can stand in the driveway and collect entrance fees. Vox says for Democrats, the Hunter Biden pardon is a problem and an opportunity. It's now their chance to break from the big guy. It's already happening. Joe just lost Chuck Todd.
You read the Hallie Biden transcript.
I didn't know this. Apparently Chuck Todd lost his show. He used to be on CNN or something, I think, or MSNBC. I don't know. And apparently he's just like gone off the deep end now. That's really sad to see.
And that's Bo's widow.
Yes.
Bo's widow. Okay.
And essentially he turned her into a crack addict.
Okay. This is just scumbag right here. People make their own decisions. You can't. All right. Oh my God. There's so much to dissect here. I'm not even going to bother, but this framing is so ridiculous and messed up.
And this was all happening in 2017, 2018. And Joe and Joe Biden were so concerned about their family that they decided to run for president.
Really? You don't think that they'd have a better chance of just like requesting a pardon or something? What were they concerned about with their family? What are you talking about? What was happening to their family in that moment that made them like be concerned about it, that they'd need a pardon? What does that even mean?
Yep.
So when you talk about the word selfish, it's almost like the word doesn't, their decision to run for president put the entire Democratic Party and the United States of America.
He is so full of. Is he really sitting here saying Biden only ever ran for president with a single goal in mind, and that he knew that he was going to be a bad president, but he said, I'm going to do it anyway because I want to save myself? What evidence does he have of any of this? Is there literally any evidence of this? Anything? This is nuts.
In the position that it's in now.
Really, Chuck? Really? Chuck Todd's disgusted now when he doesn't have a show anymore? Everyone knew this 4 years ago because it was in the laptop he was saying was Russian.
Well, it's very clearly Russian propaganda. Well, either way, even if the laptop were real, it's most definitely being pushed by Russia as Russian propaganda.
Lying about pardoning Hunter was the last straw for Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd didn't say diddly when Biden made the American people broke.
Wait, when did Biden do that? What are you talking about?
He only had enough when Biden made a liar out of him. So where does the Democratic Party go now? Clinton's been Me Too'd.
Clinton has been Me Too'd.
Barack's in hiding.
He is?
Biden's Jimmy Carter.
What is he talking about?
So what's next? Well, there's a struggle for the soul of the Democratic Party, and no one knows what to do.
This is just bullshit. This is complete bullshit all the way down. This is wild. He can say anything, and people will believe him. And it's lie after lie after lie. I'm so immersed in politics, it's crazy. I know this like the back of my hand because I watch this day in and day out. It's my job to watch this stuff. And I don't know that I could even count the lies. How many he just told. That is insane.
Francis Buckley is asking how Democrats can pull the plug from the corrupt ruling class and reconnect with real Americans.
Oh, my God. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. This is just insane to me. This is just nuts. Just the sheer amount of propaganda that can be dropped in how long was this clip? This is roughly a 4-minute clip or so, 3 minutes. The amount of propaganda dropped in like 3 minutes is wild. Just tell me what you think about it in the comments. It's just crazy. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Nick Fuentes, dude.